Hi there, knife people. Good morning, lady and gentlemen. I'm starting today eating fresh coconut for breakfast. And I'm extracting the meat of it using this Reeve in Cosi knife that I recently brought back from sunny California. Why am I doing this? Watch the rest of the video and you'll find out. Let's imagine for a minute that you are on vacation and then some kind of natural disaster happened and you are stranded with just your knife. You weren't planning on survival situation, but you carry your pocket knife with you. One of the top survival skills is to extract fluid and substance from coconuts because they grow all over the world, and it is very likely that where you are on vacation, you may find something like that. So this is a technique I learned from another YouTuber. His channel is called ARAW and then some dots and dashes. I'll provide a link in the description. He shows a lot of interesting outdoor skills, and I appreciate, I would not have any idea how to do it right. Well, what you saw me do here is find the softest of the three dots that easily pops off. It's like a cork, basically on a bottle of wine, pops right out. And then I have to work the knife to widen the hole. And that is very tough. The shell of the coconut is extremely hard. It's very similar to walnut, for example, or pecan. And when it starts chipping off, it creates these jagged, hard edges. That's why I put the gloves on, just in case. I'm also wearing my glasses, which protect my eyes. None of that you may have in the wilderness, but still doesn't hurt to be careful when filming a test. So as you can see, I'm putting extreme pressure on that tip. I have to get under the skin and then use the knife to sort of lever it against the opposite side of that hole and work my way out. And I'm trying different techniques here. What ended up working the best was to just point the sharp edge up and let it bite into the shell and then twist it sideways. And that puts extreme pressures on the tip of the knife. On the very tip, there's no much thickness even on this blade. But to my surprise, absolutely nothing bad happens here. So if you're waiting for me to break this blade, you can stop watching right now. Anyway, to open the coconut, you push down and sort of create a triangular hole. And you can actually hear the air escaping when you puncture it. Inside there is approximately 4 ounces of liquid, and it's basically water, and it tastes delicious. It tastes pretty cool too. So the reason we don't want to crack the coconut open with a rock is because if you do, you will lose that liquid. It will just escape. Next step is to crack the nut open. And the technique is you go to the ridge opposite to where the hole is. And my inspirer used the spine of his knife. He was using S.A. Azula to crack the coconut, and he just worked it, striking it several dozen times before the nut cracked. In this case, it's not happening for me, so I'm attempting here different techniques, the best I could come up with on the spot. First, I'm going to fold the knife and baton the sort of that ridge with the spine of the knife. And this blade has like a false edge on the front top. So the front spine has that false edge. I should have figured out how to use that side, like batoning onto the sharp edge and strike it with a false edge. But I haven't thought of it. So here I'm batoning basically the knife into the coconut. And again, nothing is happening. here I get optimistic and I'm thinking, well, I didn't crack the blade yet, so let me just strike it a few times, start it going, create a sort of a micro crack or slit in the spine of the coconut, and then try to crack it. And to my astonishment, it actually worked like a champ. You can see the crack forming all the way around, and nice and even, almost nice and even, as much as you can hope for. And then eventually this one strike will break the coconut in half. Boom. Come on. Boom. Yep. There you go. Look how purely white it is inside. It's beautiful gift from the nature, and delicious source of food. I'm looking at the blade and see absolutely no damage, not on the tip, not on the edge where I struck the spine. Everything looks new, like it just came out of the box. No, I did not buy two Wurkkos so that I can swap them out just to make the video. Anyway, that's a technique to extract this coconut. It kind of starts out soft, but eventually as the liquid evaporates from it, it gets harder. So here the idea is to score the meat of it and then pry it away from the knot. I try to pry it toward the center so it falls into the ball. Believe me, you do not want to lose any of this delicious coconut meat. Each coconut contains 1.5 grams of protein, 6.8 grams of sugar, a bunch of fiber, calcium, potassium, all kinds of other vitamins and minerals. This is like a superfood. I'm still staring at that blade, amused how well it did. The edge feels sharp, like to the level of sharpness that, for example, Benchmade doesn't come to even from the factory. So obviously I need to try and dull it and baton the piece of wood I found on the ground. It so happens that we had an epidemic of hardwoods here and a lot of dead oak trees here on the East Coast, specifically in Virginia. So a lot of this dead wood that I find on the ground is actually oak. So while it's great to have hardwood for fires and such, it's extremely hard to process with a pocket knife. So as you can see, it takes me a while to get to the point where I can break the piece off. And again, the knife is intact, as if I did nothing with it. Just to show you, I'm going to do some feather sticking now. And this is a hollow grind, a wide hollow grind. So it does an amazing job pulling off that burr on the wood. Extremely slicey knife. And the edge feels like butter going into this oak. This knife definitely does not disappoint. It's a quality knife, an extremely well-built tool, and hard worker. Definitely possible to rely on it in any situation. Knife people kind of get all like, oh my God, why are you batoning with a pocket knife? Because there's no point of carrying a pocket knife that cannot do a job of a fixed blade. Absolutely no point. Just buy a box cutter from a hardware store and call it a day. Any knife of quality should be able to do what you're seeing me doing with this knife. And it's not even a hard batoning, other than the fact that there is a knot in the wood. So my concern was that without the heat-treated insert on the spring bar, it will develop a play, and it did not happen. Let's take a quick look at the coconut in question. This was the toughest one that I actually opened to date. And so overall thickness of its shell is 4 millimeters, which is almost exactly 5/16 of an inch. So basically it's thicker than the blade, which is exactly 1/8 of an inch. It's tough. And it's even thicker where I was chipping it away. I think SHTF is slightly better suited for this job because they needed to take this false edge a little farther back or square off the spine here. I don't understand why a hard-working knife like this needs a rounded off spine. Another feature I noticed that I kind of tried using and it wasn't doing great is this little radial cutout. I thought maybe it's to strike the fire iron or ferrous rod. Well, it does produce sparks, but it's not sharp and crisp enough to produce a lot of sparks. So if one of you knows what it's for, write me a comment, please. So let's see if it'll cut paper receipt after all this. And I'm keeping coconuts in the shot so you know this is happening after.
Nice and smooth. From all the way in the back to all the way at the tip. Not a single chip, not a single roll, not a high spot. This edge is factory new.
I hope this video helped you answer the question, can you survive using a pocket knife? Depends on the knife.